With sore heads and thirsty mouths, our heroes find themselves back in the large entrance hall to the underground labyrinth of sewers. They quickly locate the next corridor to explore, and make to open the old creaky doorway. Seraphina immediately felt a draining feeling in the magical vortex, almost like a bath being emptied, and then the heroes were caught in an ambush. Skeletons appeared both in front and behind. They must have been laid in wait. They were surrounded. And in dire trouble, as if the evil creatures knew that they were coming. Seraphina quickly gathered her wits and cast a ray of spite through the three that were before her. And Crew and Bjorg set about demolishing the foes that blocked their exit. Many skeletons were returned to earth and dust. Also a couple of cats as well, I believe. Only a few of the filthy undead remained now to be slain. Within a twinkling of an eye, all were dead again. A little surprised, but not unwell, the characters crept slowly forward. A strange feeling overwhelmed Seraphina yet again. The magical vortex was still emptying. Yet again the group were caught in an ambush. Bjorg and Jazz turned to meet the foe. Crew and Seraphina grimly stood their ground as they were attacked by a vicious cat. A ray of spite issued from the gesticulating fingers of the witch. Zombie bodies crackled and withered to dust, and hopefully the cat fled. Within a few moments, the shamble of zombies were destroyed. Treading carefully, the adventurers continued on to the next doorway. They stealthily crossed the corridor to the very next portal. Turning the corner, they saw another door ahead. Would these dark corridors never end? Warily, they drew closer to the doorway. They could sense they were being watched. They huddled together to keep the evil away. But it permeated the air around them. The feeling of lurking dread did not diminish. Seraphina could feel the magical energy bleed out of every pore of the room. She was in tune with the magical flux, but realized far too late. Out of the decrepit walls crawled monstrosities, foul, evil ghouls. Seraphina and Crew found themselves beset on all sides. They had to strike quickly and decisively, or it would be their end. A ray of spite might well take the sting out of the ghouls. While Bjorg removed the threat to the rear very quickly. The ghouls' attacks missed their mark, apart from one sneaky attack that got Bjorg, gave him a bloody nose. Seraphina flew to the far corner and cast another ray. Meanwhile, Bjorg, Jazz and crew finished off the rest of the ghouls. The group then turned themselves around and continued to explore. Back, back, back they went. They began to question their sense of direction. Which way had they come, and where should they go? Serafina and Bjorg, however, seemed to know the way, and marched on. In the glowering gloom, they followed the dank corridors. Was that the faint tinkle of water? Could they hear a fountain? Or was it rats playing amongst the rubbish? Carefully they climbed the stairs, to what, however, they were not sure. There in front of them appeared a fountain room. The Lord of Jacko had been right. Immediately, with all the speed of a trio of sloths, 3 mummies appeared. Serafina flew to the far end and cast a ray of spite on the mummies, catching all 3. It's an excellent tactic. If they felt pain, they did not show it. Not a sound came from their lips. Crew and Jazz lived up to their barbarian natures and hacked at the mummies. Bjorg's hair, unfortunately, got in his eyes, and he missed, however. The mummies struck back, injuring the heroes. Crew, Bjorg, Jazz and Serafina all felt somewhat ill. But through a combination of attacks, Jazz dispatched one of the 3. Serafina once again unleashed the power of the Ray of Spite. The mummies returned to the ashes and sackcloth. They returned to whence they came. Serafina collected water from the enchanted well, carefully putting it in her backpack, while Titch, her owl familiar, watched on. After much retracing of steps, the heroes found themselves in the Great Hall. They stopped for a while, ate biscuits, had a quiet chat for a while. But anyway, they were eager to get on, so they entered the next room. Perhaps a little too hastily, for skeletons appeared in front of them. Only 4, however. These could be easily cast aside. They would be crushed beneath the heroic blows of our seasoned travellers. Is this all this dungeon has to offer? Surely not. With a blink of an eye, the skeletons crashed to the stone floor, dead once more. Full of confidence and optimism, the group moved ever forward, entering the next room. But as soon as the friends entered it, they could tell it was cursed. An evil death curse filled the room, but although confused, only Jazz and Serafina were actually hurt. It was then that they realized the whole room was a pincushion of massive spikes. Serafina was forced to cast a healing spell amongst her compatriots. But quickly, ignoring the last of the spikes, they made their way into the next room, a shaman's lair. Perhaps this is where the trap said it came from. With shocking speed, first a vampire and then a mummy appeared before the group. Serafina was badly hurt by the vampire's ambush attack, but still clinging to life, she flew out of harm's way and cast a ray of spite. Crew and Bjorg found it very difficult to hurt the vampire and the mummy, but valiantly they tried. The vampire had Serafina firmly in his sights. He sprang forward with immense speed, and with terrible ferocity he struck Seraphina down. Bad times for the adventurers. Without Seraphina to heal them, they might not survive. There was a subtle shift in the air, and only Seraphina would have noticed it. A cloud of grey vapour testified to the forthcoming horror. It was an evil, foul necromancer, full of dark malice and even darker magic. It immediately cast the malediction of Nagash upon poor Jazz, stopping her from moving and making her attacks less effective. Meanwhile, Crew slipped away from the vampire, ran to Seraphina and gave her his healing potion. Seraphina clutched on to life, but with precious little strength. Courageous to the last, Seraphina cast a ray which wounded the vampire badly and killed the mummy. Could the tide of battle be finally turning? Just when it looked as if they may be triumphant, the vampire stabbed at the very heart of the team. Seraphina was killed yet again. The necromancer kept up the pressure by casting the Black Horror. His eyes glowed red as poor unfortunate Bjorg succumbed to the acrid gas. Now only Crew could move and fight freely. The vampire was close to death when he suddenly realized that he was being attacked on both sides. Crew and Jazz wounded the vampire, bringing him close to death, but finally it was by his own hand that he was brought low. His magic backfired and slew him. But the necromancer saw his chance, dashing into combat with Crew and casting the Hand of Dust. 8 mad slashes killed poor Crew before he could raise his shield. And finally, crushed by the weight of magic, poor beloved Jazz drew her last breath. A sorry scene to all but the despicable necromancer. Its laughter filling the halls with malicious glee. Our poor heroes find their untimely end under the city of Jaccio. Bjorg. Bold Crew. Beloved Jazz. And of course, the courageous Seraphina. Now, you may be wondering how I got this information. Sad as it is. Well, little Titch, the owl familiar, so loved by Seraphina, managed to escape, and I happened to speak old Owlish. This has been Daxio Rothchop. Thank you very much, and goodbye.